Yeah, the very first lean startup talk I gave was in this room. So, and since then, that was like 2 or 3 years ago, and since then I've been traveling around the world, being tough. Too loud? Too quiet? Being tough on entrepreneurs the same way, so it's good. He'll make me feel better. If it's good to have other tough mentors around, not feel bad. We push you because we love you, because we've seen patterns, because we sort of know what's going on, and we're here to help. And a lot of us, especially me, have made a lot of the mistakes on the other side, so we just do it with love. So the big headline, I don't know if you saw me tweeting it, there's a really big secret. It's the one thing you need to know about growth, very specific. So I call it a minimum viable talk. Don't love slide decks. I love just getting in there. That's why the document is one thing. It's not as good as working with you in person. But really excited to maybe even in this session, maybe take some of the tips and do some live stuff with teams. But we'll see if that happens. All right. So what's the big secret? The big secret to growing big. So this was going to be a drum roll slide. Some of the slides, the animations didn't catch up, but this was a cat. My friend Melissa said my presentation needed more cats, so I put a cat playing the drums for the drum roll of this big secret. Who's got a guess on this big secret? Nobody else knows it. It's going to change your life. We'll do 3 guesses before. Like to keep it interactive. All right, it's a good guess. Yeah. Say it again. All right, sort of what he said. Yeah, that's important. That's a theme of the slide, but it's not the guess. All right, so the big reveal. Start small. Just start small. To grow big, start small. That is probably the single most important thing that you can take away from this presentation. Everyone has all these big, massive plans and projections, and all this stuff. Start small. So we'll start with that pizza. Does anyone know who started a big company that just started giving discounts on pizzas one day? Right in their neighborhood, in the building that their office was in. Who said it? Yeah. You want to sit in the front and help me out with this presentation? All right. So, and we'll go through these pretty quickly. What's the laser pointer? Broken laser pointer. Started a big, huge, amazing international company by selling a broken laser pointer. Had a very clear customer, very clear problem, very clear solution. The one on it was a weird photo, but of course Airbnb, and the last one now we know. Everyone says they're going to be everything for everyone, and it's the best example. Just started with just books. He started with just one thing. So I loved your slide. Where'd he go? Is he still here? One problem, one customer. That's the one thing I asked you all in the document. The first thing she's like, can you have a half an hour Skype call with a lot of the teams? And the first thing I said, I'd rather hear one thing. Who's your customer? What problem are you solving for them? That's it. That's all we want to do. And I wish that was a question that I had been asked, but instead I was too busy talking about how cool my solution was for years and years and years. So your customer is not everyone. One of the things that I'm tough on is when we get to the pitches. First thing I'm going to ask you, and we might try to do it again in the same presentation, who is your customer? If you say everyone, especially in the beginning, we're not going to pick on you, but we're going to try to help you. It's usually not everyone at first. So I put this slide up. It's kind of fun. So instead, a lot of people are reluctant to sort of narrow down their customer segment, what I call micro-segmenting, and this is also something that we worked on in the document. Be polarizing, okay? a lot of times we have this instinct that we want to just appeal to everyone. We don't want anyone to be upset. We want everyone to kind of like us. It's better to be polarizing and have some people really, really, really need us. It's okay if that means that nobody else cares, or even if some people actually really dislike us. So you want to solve a big problem for a small number of people in the beginning, rather than just trying to appeal to everyone. Does that make sense? The same thing is sort of true with your product. So this animation, who's familiar with the term a clown car? All right, so in this, it's animated. But basically, all those people fit into a car. You know what a smart car is? It's like basically room for one person. So it's a silly animation. Everyone, all those people fit into one car. It's a little magic trick. But that's what we try to do a lot of times with our solutions. And I think you talked about it earlier. We're just trying to jam in features because we're not confident that we know exactly who our customer is, exactly what their problem is, and exactly what our solution is. So the way that we try to compensate for that is to just try to be everything. And I remember doing this with my co-founder, and I was guilty of it, but it's wrong. There's this instinct that makes you think, no, it has to have this, it has to have this, but we don't know that for sure. Just another good slide. Documenting the single use case. We want you. I say once you sort of understand who the customer is, then you sort of understand or should really know after some initial experiments what problem you're solving for them. What is the single use case? What is the one thing they need, and is that true or false? I talked about it as soon as I started talking. We all have these grand plans for our startup, right? We're going to do this. We map every single thing out. We need to have a plan, and unfortunately, it never really works out that way. Again, it's good to be prepared, but trying to document the way every single thing is going to play out. Startups are all about uncertainty. We've probably heard that lingo before. It's about turning these unknown variables into known variables. All right, who knows who this is? All right, I'll tell you the truth. I don't really know who it is either. But it's a Turkish scientist. Wikipedia, I promise, I have the reference. I know it's being filmed. So it's a Turkish scientist. So yeah, so the whole point of what I do and what Lean Startup teaches, and never in a million years that I think I'd be going around giving talks and teaching and having slides of Turkish scientists and teaching science. But we want you to run experiments. Remember, this was all about growth. So we want you to run experiments to prove all these variables until you actually prove something. Does that make sense? So we want you to run little experiments, small things, do something now, test something, prove it. We want you to prove it right, then it's time to think bigger. Only then. That's probably the one takeaway. You want to know, you talked about the gas pedal and growth hacking. It's when you're doing things on purpose that you understand what the cause and effect is, rather than just some coincidental growth where someone wrote about you or you went to a conference and then your traffic went way up. You want to understand exactly what's going on, what's pulling all the different levers, and then it almost becomes cheating. It almost becomes unfair because you've done all these experiments, you've talked to customers, you've proven demand, you have a prototype, you've proven value, you've gotten through what I call this value loop, where you know that the customer is happy with your solution because they really need it, because you knew who their customer was, all that stuff. So of course, Albert Einstein did not say that, so I made that up. All right, so we're going to spend a couple minutes just because I think it's important. Who knows, maybe my friend in the back, who knows so once you do run these experiments, and that's what I specialize in, I'm going to help you, that's what I'm going to help you over the next couple days, and if you keep in touch online, I will continue to help you run experiments. A room full of founders that are willing to experiment is basically my favorite thing in the world. So, but we're just going to talk briefly about engines of growth, because I think it's important for you to know. Everyone thinks, like you said, things don't just go viral. That's not really a business plan. Obviously, this is one of the three, which is a viral growth business model. But it's not just about going viral. Who knows the three growth engines? Who knows one of them? You raising his hand in the back? All right, so it's just viral. What's this one? Sticky. And then what's the last one? Who said that? Nice work. So yeah, that's it. And that's pretty much all we're going to talk about. I mean, you have to run experiments. Does anyone explain to them what's the paid engine of growth? Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's where the product is inherently valuable, and in one customer it leads to at least one point. You know, this was a nice animation before. It was dividing and growing and all that stuff. So you want to know ahead of time, or at least have some sort of reasonable hypothesis about what you think your engine of growth is. It could be, it could be more than one thing. So like a video game, for example, can be sticky if you get people addicted to it. It can also be paid if now you know that the lifetime value costs this much, so now let's take Facebook ads, pay this much, and acquire them. And it could technically also be viral, because if the game is more fun to play with other people, and so, and that you're recruiting. So, but usually you want to pick at least one as your hypothesis, and run tests, continually iterating and figuring out what your engine of growth is. So that's the big secret. Just a couple of quotes that I like as far as starting small and just doing something. Who wants to read? Someone all the way in the back. Read this quote. You can do it. It's not that early. And we just watched Ali G for 5 minutes, so we're all like in a good mood. Someone just do it. Now I can't deter. Now we have to keep going. All right, we said the back, but if we don't want to just stand here forever.
You're not embarrassed by the first version of your product you ship to.
So this is probably the single thing I come into all the time. I can't run that first experiment. It needs to be perfect. We teach people to deliver things manually, so to actually prove value, they'll be on the back end, and we'll get into a lot more of these lean startup hacks maybe throughout the afternoon and tomorrow. But yeah, you have to start. You have to run that first experiment. Don't be embarrassed about thinking small, right? We all want to have big, scalable companies in the future, but don't be embarrassed about having a conversation with people, not selling them your idea, but understanding their problem better. Don't be embarrassed about segmenting your customer down to like this small thing that you can't imagine will ever grow into an Amazon or an eBay. Take these steps. Your experiment, I say your first experiment is to get a clue for your next experiment, not to get the answer to this final master plan. Okay? Does that make sense, everyone? We're all on the same page? Another, famous quote, and to me this is about, doing things small, doing things manually, understanding. It's about your goal in the beginning is to learn. If you solve for learning rather than growth at first, then you'll have the answers where growth just becomes obvious. Like your competition is going to say, how the hell are they doing that? It's not an accident. It's exactly like he said, it's not an accident. You run these experiments, you've proven things step by step, and then you're ready. So a lot of times lean startup people think it's like, doing things small or cheap that's not it at all. It's about learning. Then as soon as you learn, and as soon as you understand your engine of growth, if you put those things together, sky's the limit. So yeah, I think a lot of times it's not taking off like a rocket ship like we all want to, where you just plan and plan and plan and you get fuel and you get perfect ideal conditions. Me, I think it's a little bit like a slingshot. Sometimes you have to take like a step back. All the energy is kind of created by going backwards maybe, and I don't know if this is too much of a metaphor, but I kind of liked it a week ago. We'll see if I still like this slide after this talk. But you're taking a step backwards, you just want to slingshot into the next step, right? Not all the way to the moon. And that's pretty much my little talk.